throughout cities and throughout towns and so forth. And of course, the cloud. You can also have internet connectivity from space, too. So all of these things will be able to help the other half of the world that currently does not have internet access gain internet access. But it's really going to be incumbent upon the governments involved. And as we know, there are certain governments that are quite wary of having people have internet access, because that gives a certain freedom to the people that they may not be interested in having, because that then makes them harder to control. So another aspect of our future of internet technology is social media, and what the future of this is going to be. Right now, we're in a very interesting time where we're having a very heated conversation about what social media can do, is doing, and should do. So, next year, which is 2020, hard to believe, social media will enter its third decade. That means that it will be coming out of that adolescence stage that Mr. Berners-Lee mentioned, and hopefully becoming more mature. That means having an understanding of who you are and what you can do and what you're meant to do. And perhaps we will see this maturity manifest on the highest social media platforms like Facebook and so forth. I think that's true. I mean, there's certainly more awareness now among the leaders of Facebook of what they can do, of what their product has caused, and how to deal with that. Given the constant specter of social media scandals and social shaming that can arise from publishing ill-timed or ill-conceived posts, users are gaining interest in finding outlets to express their true selves without the danger of being harassed or having long forgotten posts judged by future employers. So, the demand will be for platforms that help them discover engaging content, but also allow them to share content without it being hijacked, if you will. So, of course, things like Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is really sort of, in many ways, overtaking Facebook as a platform. But Facebook, of course, is, I guess it's the standard bearer at this point, isn't it? Twitter too. I mean, Twitter is still going, and it's interesting that Twitter is still going strong, despite the fact that the company itself doesn't make any money, and in fact loses money every year. But somehow it's the most popular company that makes no money that I have ever heard of. It's amazing to me. So the next big thing will more than likely be our virtual reality. Virtual reality meaning the creation of intricate environments through computer graphics, internet connectivity, and holographic technology. The prediction is that by 2020 or the early 2020s, newer smartphone models will have a basic holographic projector so that you can send, well, initially probably will be like emoticons, smiley faces, stickers, maybe small cartoons and things like that. But eventually this technology will progress so that you will be able to give holographic video chats and essentially a holographic image of yourself. Next week we will talk more about virtual reality and what that means, because if you've listened to my show and my approach towards our metaphysical perspective, the parallel to virtual reality is quite interesting, just as the parallel to the internet is quite interesting in our idea of our own interconnectedness. And then, of course, our search engines. Those search engines are going to continue, and they're going to be very popular, but they're going to have to be vetted more heavily. There probably will be something like a truthfulness search engine that can sort through what is true from what is what they call now fake news. Google has something called the Knowledge Vault, which is a massive online fact hoard, and it's experimenting with sorting through these things and giving a number or a ranking on the level of truthfulness, how supported by facts a statement is. So some of the questions that you're going to have are, well, what is truth? That's a big question. There's truth with a small t, and as we talk about on this program, there's truth with a capital T. Can you measure it? Can you program truth? Then we have the moral issues that come into play. We want, the internet to be a place where there's good discourse, but who gets to decide what is good discourse and what is wrong discourse? Particularly when we're talking about things like politics and religion. We have to really figure out whether tech companies are the ones to decide how to present or educate, people or present information. Is it really their responsibility to do that? And how much control do we give them? Do they then use that to control the population and free speech? Certainly, I think that you will see attempts to do that in other countries, particularly China, but maybe also Russia too, where what their understanding is that if they can control the internet, they can control their people. So there's a lot of this feels like sort of the Wild West right now. The frontier of internet connection, even though it's 30 years on now, we're still, I think, very much in, well, Mr. Lee thinks it's adolescence. I think it's still kind of in its infancy. I mean, we're still trying to hack out, even though the technology is growing, how it's used, the way it's used, and its availability are still very much in the air. So to me, it feels like very much a Wild West kind of frontier feeling that we have now, where we're kind of paving the way for how this very important technology will continue to be used, for centuries to come. It's here to stay. I mean, it's going to be 300 years from now. There's going to be an internet. What it will look like, who will be using it, and depending on global warming, if we're even around, those are big questions. But assuming we are, then there will more than likely still be an internet. And we have to now, in this era, this is the era where we make important decisions about where it goes and what it means and what it can do and what it can't. So, those are things to ponder on your rest of the week, on how ubiquitous this technology has become and how it will continue to go. And we'll talk more about it next week.